Despite following his dad to Jackson State and Colorado, Shedeur Sanders has learned not to mess with Deion Sanders on game day. I'll talk about that and more on today's episode of Locked On Buffs.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Thank you guys for joining me, as you guys do every day, hopefully. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. We're available wherever you get your podcast. Today, we're talking Shedeur Sanders' relationship with his father, Coach Prime, on game days. We're going to talk about the revamped wide receiver room and how it's going to continue to get better as fall camp rolls around. And then we're going to talk about the latest addition to the transfer class that already ranks number one in the portal. The Buffs got some offensive line help, much needed offensive line help, might I add. But before I do, I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. Okay, let's dive right in. I was just scrolling through social media as one does, and I found this article by Sports Illustrated, and it's titled "Shedeur Sanders explains why he avoids his father on game days." And I was like, he avoids him because in all these videos, they're hanging out in his office, they're hanging out everywhere they go, they're laughing, they're joking, and so I just kind of assumed that they just had like a never-ending, I won't say friendship, because obviously he's a father and a coach, so they're not friends, but they have a very great relationship. You could tell via their stuff on Well Off Media and all their videos and everything in between. They just seem like they're always having a good time. But one thing that I was surprised by was Shedeur's response as to why he avoids his dad on game days. And so he says, I mean, from my experience with him, I stay away from him on game day. I don't ask him nothing. I don't hang around. I don't play with him. I just keep my distance from him, like the first day of anything. And then when it's game day, it's exactly the same. He's going to snap. So I just keep my distance from him on those type of big days. I think this kind of touches on Coach Prime's competitiveness. I also think it touches on how serious he could be. Not that people don't see him as a serious person, but I feel like he's always very lighthearted and looks like he's having fun. Like yesterday, he met Ralphie, or the day before, he met Ralphie, and they were joking around. But I think when the lights turn on and it's game time, he hits a different mode or a different mindset. And I think it's a lot different in terms of like his personality. I would probably guess he's not as bubbly or joking. I wouldn't say he's rude or anything. I just think that he turns on a different mindset and he's ready to go. He's focused on the goal at hand, which is winning football games. And so it's kind of funny that Shedeur keeps his distance from him. Obviously it worked out though, because the tandem, they went 23-3 at Jackson State, and they had success at the high school football level when Coach Prime was coaching his son over in the Dallas area. But now they're in the Pac-12, and now I think maybe he'll be even more a little, I won't say high strung, because I don't think he's high strung. I just think he gets intense, and I think some intensities. There's nothing wrong with intensity, and I think with this upcoming season and all of these challenges that they're going to be facing, he might be getting a little more intense. It just made me laugh because I think when the public perception of Shedeur and Coach Prime is that they're always together, they're always joking. If you've watched their videos on Well Off Media, you could tell they like to razz one another, like to joke around with each other. But obviously, when it's Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, when the games are going and everything's happening on the field, Coach Prime is focused. He's got to oversee, especially now at Colorado, he's got to oversee a roster that's probably going to have 60 to 70 new players. He's got to oversee his offense, his defense. I think someone like a Coach Prime, who he obviously played everywhere when he played, obviously was a kick returner, defensive back, played quarterback in high school. He did it all. He coached, he was the offensive coordinator for Shedeur in high school. At Jackson State, he had offensive coordinators, but he probably had a major say in what was going on, even in the meeting rooms. And obviously, as a Hall of Fame defensive back, he probably add a thing or two on the defensive side of the ball. So he's got a lot to focus on. And I think it's kind of interesting because I think probably the biggest question people had about Coach Prime when he first took the job was, one, obviously, how good will he be? Two, how will his personality align with coaching? And I think most people thought they were going to get like Deion Sanders or the Coach Prime that we see on interviews where he's joking around and kind of showing his boisterous personality. But I think when it's time to go, he is as serious as can be. And so I think the preparedness, the intensity, and everything in between will help rebuild this Colorado culture. And it's just interesting to see that his own son is like, I got to stay away from him because I know on Saturdays he is no longer joking. Before we move on, guys, it is. Oh, we're going with the Built Bar one. I got a Built Bar message for you. They brought this episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Look for a delicious treat, but you don't want all the fat and calories, and you got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays, and I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. If you're like me and you want to eat healthier, but don't want to compromise taste, then I've got just a thing for you. You got to try Built. Excuse me. With Built, healthily is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious you won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter, brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they're healthy, only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. Now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built bars at Built.com. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built bars. You could pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run and grab in a 13-bar box with our hit flavors brownie batter and churro. You can thank me later. Go check out Built Bar. Great supporters, great bars, great for all your healthy needs. Now it's time to talk about the wide receiver room. Last year, they had a couple guys emerge, Jordan Tyson, Montana's Craig. But I think the transfer portal will definitely boost this position group. That's no secret. But even now, spring practice, this is one of the thinner position groups on the roster. We have Travis Hunter, who is currently only focusing on wide receiver because, in his words, and I'm sure this is what the coaches kind of wanted him to do as well, it's easier for him to learn the defense rather than try to mix up both things and learn both the offense and the defense. So he's spending all of the spring focusing on receiver. And that way, when it comes time to fall camp, he'll have the offense under his belt and he'll be able to they'll be able to integrate him into the defense. But they also have Jimmy Horn, the USF transfer, who is the first guy to earn his number. But there's some depth issues right now, and that's only because of guys not being on campus right now. So the wide receiver coach, Brett Bartolone, right now he's not working with much, but they are considered the thinnest position group in spring. However, they have guys like USF transfer Xavier Weaver, which everybody's excited about Jimmy Horn from USF, and rightfully so. Fastest guy on the team, fastest guy in the country, great route runner, can return kicks, can return punts, could probably be used in the run game too on the jet sweep stuff. But Xavier Weaver is one of USF's all-time leading receivers. I think he ranked 6th in program history. So he's a baller himself. He kind of plays a lot bigger than his height. Could go up and get passes. He'll be joining the team. They have 2023 signees Adam Hopkins and Omarion Miller, Isaiah Harge, Jordan Onavouge, I believe, and Jacob Page. They're all coming. Not to mention Jordan Tyson and Chase Soule. They're both injured right now. So Colorado is working with very few guys. Hunter and Horn have already gotten their numbers. They're also bringing back Montana Lamonius Craig. I think I flipped his name previously. I apologize for that. Montana Lamonius Craig. He exploded in Colorado's win last year. And I think there's going to be an all-out battle there's basically, me and John talk about this all the time. There's basically 3 to 4 spots. You could already pencil in Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn for 2 of them. Shedeur Sanders, the tight end, which tight ends are not heavily featured in Sean Lewis's offenses typically, but when you have a guy like Shedeur Sanders, you have to figure out a way to get him the ball. Matchup nightmare. Too fast for linebackers, too big for safeties. Perfect weapon for Shedeur Sanders over the middle. So there's 3 guys because just based off the trends at Kent State, there's usually 3 or 4 guys that kind of lead the team in receiving. Everybody else sees a significant decline in opportunities to get the ball. And so then that leaves you have guys, because I already think that Travis Hunter, and I don't know if he's going to play all game both ways because of how fast the offense is, but for this exercise, we'll assume he does. You have Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn Jr., Seydou Traore is going to get some touches. So that's 3 people already. So then we'll go to 5 pass catchers, realistically. So that leaves guys like Xavier Weaver, 4-star Adam Hopkins, Jordan Tyson, Chase Soule, and Montana Lamonius Craig battling it out for like 2 spots. And so this receiver room has an abundance of riches, an embarrassment of riches, if you will. And one, it's going to be a good thing for Shedeur Sanders. He's going to have a ton of weapons, and he's going to have a ton of options to get the ball to, and they're going to dial up some crazy plays. I already know it. But 2, they have amazing depth. And so I think receiver, if you have playmakers and you can have someone who could get them the ball, that is half the battle right there. Especially in college football, there's usually one defensive back per team that is locked down. And that's a stretch sometimes. Every college football team has a defensive back that they rely on, but no team has 3 or 4 defensive backs that they could just be like, okay, we got all aspects of the field covered. So they're going to have to pick their poison with this offense, and it's going to be going so fast, and it's going to be so much movement, and there's going to be a lot of things going on. And so I would expect that this wide receiver room maybe emerges as one of the more underrated ones in the country. I think it'll start as an underrated wide receiver room in the country, and then I think they'll emerge as one of the better ones. I think when you have speed, size, and just the ability to catch jump balls, that's the perfect wide receiver room, and they have that. Jimmy Horn could fly by you if he wants to. When he's not going to fly by you, he's going to be routing you up. Xavier Weaver is a jump ball wide receiver, and even at 6 foot, 6'1", I think he's measured in at. All of his USF tape shows him going up and catching a high point pass or high pointing the ball and bringing it down over defenders. And when you got someone like Shedeur who has an arm that could get it to 70 plus yards on the line, it feels like you have a lot of weapons to choose from. And I think it's just going to be a pick your poison. I think one of the funniest things in college football I'd ever seen was at Alabama. And I think it was Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, and Jerry Jeudy. I don't remember who was playing rock, paper, scissors, but it was 2 of them. And they would go play rock, paper, scissors on the sideline or between plays for a certain play because they knew that they were going to be open. And I think Colorado is going to have a similar potential where I don't know if they're going to be playing rock, paper, scissors for who gets the touchdown pass, but there will be instances where it's like it doesn't matter which receiver for Colorado is going to be there. They're going to be open. They're going to catch a great ball from Shedeur Sanders. So a lot of excitement about this wide receiver room. Bartolone also talked about the receivers a little bit. He said Montana is a guy who we know has produced. He's been in the fire. He's done it. He's a guy that we've seen make contested catches. He's a reliable target that we're going to continue to lean on. And then some of the guys that are coming back, it's an open competition right now, and everyone is fighting for their job. Ty Robinson is coming along the last couple of days, making nice plays. I need to see more out of Grant Page. He had a nice day yesterday, made a play for us. He needs to continue to have that confidence to make plays. So overall, collectively, the group is competing. We just have to keep stacking days, and days. And then continued saying, my job is to make sure the receivers are in the right spot. We put a lot on our receivers in this offense. There's a lot of different stuff going on. There's a lot of different adjustments based off coverage. Again, guys, this is Brett Bartolone, the wide receiver coach. He said, so anytime we get through walkthroughs, meetings, we have to do our best. And I have to do my best as a coach to have that level of understanding and make sure our guys know where the heck they need to be. If we know where we need to be as receivers, we're going to carve up some defenses this year. I love his confidence too. He's a charismatic, confident guy. And when he walks into a room, there's just like a swagger to it. He also said, when you've been here in this spring, you know what the heck is going on. So now we've got new guys coming in. We're going to depend on, to help us win games this fall. So it's a collective group effort to make sure everyone is on the same page. That comes down to holding guys accountable, holding guys to the standard that we've set here. Again, so many weapons that they have in the Colorado receiver room right now in spring. And I think we'll see it at the spring game. The receivers probably aren't going to be as exciting as many people are hoping, but you have to factor in that I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that will probably be competing for the last 3 starting spots, the last 2 starting spots. They're not practicing right now. And so I don't know what all their stat, like the injury status. I don't know when those guys are returning right now, but there's a lot of people competing. So the spring game might not be a true tell of how electric this offense could be. But even on social media yesterday, we saw Travis Hunter, and he said they're recording him, focusing on him in practice. And he was like, first play, get the ball, touchdown. Once you know it, video cuts to the first play, runs directly past whoever was covering him, touchdown, deep bomb between him and Shedeur. So you have a lot of reasons to be excited for when it comes to this receiver room. And I think this could be outside of USC, because obviously they have Dorian Singer, Mario Williams. I think this could be one of the better receiver rooms in the Pac-12. Also, Washington, they have Rome Oduzde or Awuzie, I believe is his last name. Washington returned all of their great receivers from last year, so this is at least a top 3 receiver room, and it wouldn't shock me if they ascend up that list. A lot of great weapons here, a lot of great weapons in the Pac-12 in general. As I'm like thinking, I'm like, yeah, there's Washington, Oregon has some great guys. There's just great players all over the map. So I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Plus, hear from big name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Guys, Colorado landed a huge transfer, both in stature and in importance to the team. I'll talk about that after our message from FanDuel. The tournament is heating up, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from money line to point scores and threes drain. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss a chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay, so one of my major concerns about Colorado this entire offseason, and I still think it will be, even through the spring game and fall camp, I want to see who else emerges and who else gets in the mix, was the offensive line. Receivers, I'm not worried about. Obviously, they have 12 guys probably that could play, 12 guys that would likely be playing at any other program in the country. It's just there's so many talented players in this one position room that it's going to be 5 or 6 guys or carving out roles for themselves. But the offensive line, which they've done a great job in the portal adding guys. They have a couple returning guys. But Shedeur Sanders was sacked quite a few times at Jackson State, and I think he needs protection. Every quarterback does. Shedeur Sanders can move, but he's not a running quarterback. A lot of people compare him to Cam Ward, which is an unfair comparison. I think the only fair comparison between the two is that they went from the FCS to the Power 5 level. But other than that, Cam Ward loves to run around. He reminds me of Johnny Manziel, where if he's in the pocket and the pocket's breaking, he's going to run around in a few circles before he makes a move or makes a throw. Shedeur Sanders is very methodical. He's looking read 1, 2, 3. If no one's open, then he'll take off. He's not running around in circles, jumping over people in the pocket. He's very methodical. He can run. He does not look to run every play, and I think that's the biggest difference. So having the proper offensive line to protect him is very important. And Coach Prime and Sean Lewis may have helped with this one. Went back into the portal. They landed Jackson Bailey, who played at Kent State. Very big offensive lineman. Second offensive lineman to transfer from Kent State, joining offensive tackle Savion Washington. They both played for Sean Lewis. Huge, in which Coach Prime said he wasn't done in the portal. And we knew this, that he was going to continue to go into the portal and get out some talent. He said he wanted to flip the roster, and I think the more talent he brings in, the better this team can do in terms of making it to a bowl game, exceeding that 6-win limit, maybe, or that 6-win mark, going to 7, 8 wins. Because I feel like that's the ceiling, the consistent ceiling that I've been hearing: 6 to 8 wins. Floor 4 wins. But the more talent they bring in the portal, whether it be the offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, the better they could be. So Jack Bailey, graduate transfer, has 2 years of eligibility remaining, which is huge. And he started the past 2 seasons at Kent State. So he knows Sean Lewis's system. He knows where he should be at all times. Probably going to be the same exact offense, different verbiage, better weapons, better quarterback play, obviously. So that could be a little different. But this offense line is shaping up to be one of the more interesting stories of the offseason, because yes, I've been critical of it. I'm always critical of offensive lines until I see them blocking together. You want to see a cohesive unit, in which obviously we haven't been able to see them all together. We won't even see the finished product yet until fall camp probably. But the offensive line is probably one of the most important positions on the field outside of quarterback, because your quarterback can't do anything if he's just laying on his back. And so having someone who knows the system, who knows where he's supposed to be, pushes other guys to be better and offers more size. But I saw this interesting report, or it wasn't really a report, it was a tweet by, I think it was 24/7, that all 9 of the additions that Colorado made from the transfer portal and the recruiting ranks, counting the JUCO guys, um, these guys were all starters at the college level this past year, whether it be junior college, FCS, group of 5, whatever it may be. So Colorado has a ton of starting caliber offensive linemen, which is huge. It's going to be big for Shedeur Sanders in the passing game and all those receivers I mentioned, because if he has no time, they're not going to get the ball. It's going to be huge for the running backs, whether it's Kavosier Smoke, Dylan Edwards, whoever it is, Charlie Offerdahl, or a walk-on that will likely not be a walk-on after spring or fall camp would be my guess. Wink, wink. I feel like he's emerging as a guy who's going to be in one of those great videos where it's a walk on getting a scholarship and everybody's just so happy for him. But the offensive line is the foundation of the offense, and they need them as well as much as anybody on the team to kind of emerge and be the best they could be. So yeah, I'm very excited for this addition on Jack Bailey, because more offensive line help equals more depth, it equals more experience, and it also equals another way, another step towards being a competitive team. I think this team is already going to be competitive, but everybody's knock on Colorado right now is their depth. So the more depth they have, the better they'll be. Every team needs depth, and Colorado is still building that, and they're still figuring out who's going to do what. And offensive line is looking more and more sure by the day. Guys, I want to thank you again for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. Make sure to check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Experts Isaac Shaw and Andy Patton bring you everything you need to know on and off the court, plus hear from big name experts, coaches, and players throughout the basketball landscape. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. This is Locked On Buffs. I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. We talked about Shedeur Sanders and Coach Prime's relationship on game day, a little insight into their relationship and how it may get a little tense on game days. We talked about the receiver room, how it's a little thin right now, but it's going to be one of the deepest positions. It probably is the deepest position group on the roster. And then offensive line, getting some more help from the transfer portal. Coach Prime said he was not done in the portal, and he's continuing to show us that he will make some moves, and he's not afraid to go out and give guys a chance. And so, like always, be excited about Colorado football. Go check out the latest episode of Locked On Buffs. We talked about expansion, media rights, me and John Canzano. I appreciate you guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, share. Love the growth we've been seeing. We've surpassed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate all the support and the kind words. We have some more guests coming up, so make sure to tune in every day, because you never know who's going to be on Locked On Buffs.